The Blind Kitchen logo appears. Fade to black.
Today in the Blind Kitchen, we're going to be installing oven rack guards. I'm sitting in front of my stove and I've got the oven door open and the top rack half pulled out. Now the oven rack guards serve two purposes. One is to protect my skin against unexpected touching of the oven rack. I'm never going to touch these on purpose with my skin, but if I happen to accidentally make contact with them, the burn will be far less severe than if I actually hit the steel of them. So they're going to serve as a little bit more protection. The other place the oven rack guards are helpful if you have vision loss is if you do have some vision available to you. They will serve, they're so bright that you'll be able to look in that dark oven that has those dark racks, but you'll see this bright flash of color that will tell you exactly where the front of your oven rack is, so you can pull out the rack you want and you can make sure that you have a good grip on it. So the oven rack guards are made of silicone. They're about 14 inches long and about a ½ inch around, and it's a tube basically. Now the tube has one side cut all the way down, but despite that cut, they still maintain their tube form. On the side of each of those tubes are little fingers. There's hundreds of those little fingers that will come out, and what they're going to do is, when you install them, is they are going to grip the front of your oven rack, and that's what's going to hold your oven rack guards in place. Now, every oven is different, and my oven is these are 14 inches long, but my oven could only accommodate about 8 inches of it. So I cut them down to make sure that it would fit perfectly in my oven. And I want them to be as perfectly centered as I can so that there's room for error both on the left and the right when I'm going to pull this out. How I'm going to install them is I am going to bend the oven rack guard in half. And so now I know exactly where the center of this oven rack guard is. Now I'm going to reach over to the oven, I'm going to check it out, and I'm going to use my fingers, come together to where I think the middle of the oven rack is. And I know I'm pretty close, it's an educated guess. So now I have the middle of the oven rack, the front of it, and I've got the middle of the oven rack guards, lined them up as well as I could. And now I'm pushing on the back of that oven rack guard so those fingers are being forced to open up around the stainless steel front of the rack, and they're being forced around it. So I have to adjust just a little bit, but not too much, so that's good. And now I'm going to check, is it firmly in place? It is. This thing is not going to fall off. So now I'm going to push the oven rack back in. I'm going to pick up the oven door, and then I'm going to turn on the oven, and let's get cooking. So now I'm back in the kitchen. I've been baking this bread for almost an hour, and I'm pretty sure it's done now. The oven rack guards are still in place, but now they're very hot, as is the oven rack. But I'm never going to touch either of them with my skin on purpose. So I have on heat protection, my heat gloves, and now I'm going to pull it out of the oven. So I'm going to center myself in front of the oven so I know where I'm at in space. And now I'm going to open that oven door all the way, and I'm going to recenter myself. And now I'm going to reach into this oven, and I'm going to pull that top oven rack forward until it meets resistance, and there it is. So I never put my hands in the oven. I only put the oven rack, the heat gloves, my fingertips. And now I'm going to put this down on the stovetop. I'm going to push the oven rack back in, and I can feel that that oven rack guard is holding on just fine. And now I'm closing the door. So now it's time to check and see if the bread is done. It smells delicious.
She smiles towards the camera. Fade to black. The Blind Kitchen logo appears. Fade to black. Neo Creative Productions logo appears. The logo fades to black.